Good morning. It's been a while for two reasons. One, the holidays really didn't get a lot of chance to go out and explore. And two, the New Jersey winters, when it is not snowing, is not very conducive to landscape photography or photo taking. So I have not been able to get out much. I did hike one day with my sister, but that was a hike only, not meant to be vlogging. So today's content is a bit of an experiment. Since I have not been able to hike and get out and explore, I did want to put something out on the channel, and what I thought might be interesting was taking a look at my personal favorite photos from 2019, but really look at them with a critical eye. What I did wrong, what I can improve. This will not be a long video. I personally tend to tune some of this type of content out on other channels that I love. But I think it might be interesting, at least for me, to take a more critical look at the photos and see where I went wrong. So this first photo is from Sparta, New Jersey. It's almost at the beginning point of the Wallkill River, which is a fairly large river as you go further north. It's one of the few rivers that flow to the north. So this is where it's basically no more than a stream. So what I like about this photo, obviously the water line here that's frozen, this dark area, all the twists and turns and little nuances there are great. I love the ice on the trees. It was right after an ice storm. What I don't like, this branch I want in the frame, but I want it more prominent in the frame. Maybe a little bit lower and maybe extending to the right. And what I don't like, I really cut off. Well, first of all, these areas of dead grass, I don't love. They're okay being there. It makes sense to be there. But this one in particular, right in the center of my frame at the bottom, I'm not a fan of, especially cut off like this. I remember trying to clone this out, but it just didn't work, so I ended up leaving it. But this here I would change in the future for sure. Maybe get a little bit lower to the ground. Now that would ruin the branch up here, but I'd also like to see what this looks like with the camera lower to the ground as well. This next one really helped me jumpstart the year. So what I mean by that is between January and April, I didn't get out much. Obviously I had not started the vlog yet. But I did go out to Mount Tammany in the Delaware Water Gap in Worthington State Forest one day. And I went up there to get a nice shot of the river close to sunrise. But I was very disappointed to see that the entire valley was decked in with fog. So I could not get the picture I wanted. I still did the hike. And once you got to the top, there were so many opportunities for a beautiful fog shot. So that's what this is. This is the Blue Dot Trail. So after you get up to Mount Tammany, this is the Blue Dot Trail on the way down. And obviously with this fog in the background, and it was April and the vegetation had started to show hints of the color to come. So these shrubs and these low-hanging bushes were a little bit more red than normal. And you can see what would normally be the green grass on the side, which is not very interesting, was still dead. So it had those hints of yellow. So I really like how this trail kind of meanders off into the unknown with the fog in the background. But there are some problems with this photo. Honestly, if I had looked at the composition a bit better, I would have removed this whole branch entirely. There was probably 5 or 6 different areas I could have shot here. So this branch really kills me. And then it just seems off balance to have these 3 trees on the left-hand side without any corresponding balance on the right-hand side. While I really enjoy this picture, it always seems off to me, and I think that's the reason why. So I could do better next time, and I really want to go back to this same area on a foggy day this spring as well. You know the expression, a face that only a mother could love? That's how I feel about this photo here. So I adore this photo. It's one of my favorite ones from 2019 for me. It's very flawed, but it was the first time that I really tried to use some editing techniques to enhance the photo. So here we have a tree that, frankly, it's dead now, but it has fallen over on this pond. And just in the early spring, the yellow nature of the leaves really stood out to me. So what I did in terms of editing techniques, just brought out the brightness of the yellows only just a bit and kind of dulled the background just a bit to highlight the beauty of this specific tree. Now the problem with it, of course, it is not sharp whatsoever. It was a windy day, and you can see there's so much motion blur in the branches and in the leaves that it really detracts from the photo. But I still love it. And there's something about these, I think it's a birch tree, these white highlights on the branches all the way through really bring a smile to my face. And you can see it was a bit of a long exposure. Because of the wind, this pond was very ripply. So I blurred it by, I think it was about 7 or 8 seconds. And that really helped cut out some of the noise. Anyway, so that's this next photo. I love it, but understand that it's flawed. Mount Mansfield. This is where this mountain photo was taken from. This was towards the back end of my road trip, and frankly, Mount Mansfield near Stowe, Vermont is one of my favorite hikes, one of my favorite locations. I really love it there. So I brought my tripod and camera one day and took this a really lovely scene. So the problem was it was midday, so the light was very harsh. And it was very windy. So what I did try to do was get some motion blur in the clouds. So this is intentional motion blur. As you can see, the bottom, 2/3 of the picture of the photo is sharp, and just the clouds are blurred. So that was intentional, and I think that's what I would maybe think about doing differently. So I love this specific line, right? This was intentional to try to get this curved line to this ridge. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the blue hazy mountains in the background. But the motion blur, while I like it, it seems to detract from the photo, meaning that my eyes go right to this instead of this ridge line, which is really the highlight. And one other thing that I would say, I did do some editing on this photo that if you look closely you can certainly see it, but for the most part I think I did an okay job. So there were some roped off areas that I eliminated, and in the background there were some towers that I eliminated as well. I'm sure if you look closely you can see them right now. I actually thought I did a better job than that. I will not call that out to you. So anyway, Mount Mansfield, Stowe, really a wonderful place. This next photo is one that I am particularly proud of, not because it's a great photo, but because it's the first photo that I've ever really scouted a location for, planned out, and really intentionally went about my business for the first time. And by that I mean, this was a blue hour shot. It was very dark out to the naked eye. So this is about a 25 or 30 second exposure if I recall. And obviously, I had to scout it out in order to get this composition, because you can't really scout out, you can't really look for composition in the dark. So I visited this place weeks prior. I knew what I wanted. I went out there close to sunset and captured this. What I would do differently. I guess there's two things. One, this sky is so dull. There are no clouds, there's no pink. Could you imagine how great this would look if there were actually clouds in the sky and some, lighting up with pink night sky? That would be great. The second one is this area here. This is an area of, I guess, seaweed, I'd call it. That was just static in the frame. This river was not moving very swiftly at all. So I captured this area of muck, I'll call it. I would really wait another day to do this without the muck right here. But I love this photo. I love the highlights on these trees. I love how it looks like an hourglass, and I love the pink glow on these rocks right here. Overall, very satisfied, but I know it could be better. Here's a nice little scene from my hometown. This is in Malin Dickerson Reservation. I think it was from the August time frame, and what I had hoped to capture this day was maybe a tree changing colors or just getting a little bit lighter than its surrounding counterparts. And I did find this one. This is from shot across Safin Pond, so it's probably about a 400 millimeter zoom. And I saw the sun rays hitting this tree, and just this one branch was the one that was turning, but the way the sun hit this area, it drew my eye immediately. So this is a bit of a long exposure. I think it was 10 or 12 seconds. I love how the trunks are highlighted. I love how you can see the shadow of the branches on the trunk. I enjoy this rock. It's balanced on the right, on the left I should say, and on the right a bit by these. And the motion blur, it was a calm enough day where you can still see this tree in the bottom, which I love. What I would do differently. One, I have no idea what this blue streak is. I don't know if it's something wrong with the camera at the time or something slowly drifting across in the water that I didn't notice. But I would do that differently. And I guess the last thing, cutting off this shrub. I know why I had to do it, to center this tree and this rock. So to center this tree and include this rock, I need something on the left. But maybe I could have moved over to the right a bit. I don't remember the location exactly, but I don't love this shrub. Anyway, very happy with this photo. It was great to finally edit this and share it. I really like this photo. And I shouldn't, well, I shouldn't say I shouldn't, but I know it's not a perfect photo, but something about it just calls to me. So for this shot, this is in Harriman State Park. It was on a day where I had I co-lead an AT&T hiking group, but I had gotten there an hour early, so I went to a different trailhead and just walked around. And I was about to give up, but then I spotted this red tree from across a field. I mean, this is fully zoomed in, 600 millimeters. And I spotted this out of the corner of my eye and really worked hard to get a composition that I liked. And I think I succeeded. So what I like, obviously this red tree right in the rule of thirds is the highlight of the photo. But this tree too, the more I look at it, the more it has grown on me. These branches are all twisty and gnarly and wonderful. They could make for a composition in and of itself. And even on the left-hand side, this tree, you know, with its branches basically right on top of the grass area, is great as well. So what I would do differently, I'm not entirely sure. I wish there was a third bush maybe here to balance this out. So I think it's maybe, you know, weighted to the left-hand side just a bit. And I guess this grassy field could be more vibrant. It just looks dead. But overall, I'm really satisfied with this one. I don't think there's much I could do to improve it. But if I had to, the one thing I'd pick is some other balancing feature on the right-hand side. Okay, this next one was from the week of Lou. This is in Minnewaska State Park, very close to where Gertrude's nose is. It's just before it. So obviously there's some things to like about this. We have the Great Ridge Line in the back with the shadow from a cloud. We have the trees changing color, and we have a fairly interesting foreground with this rock formation here. What I would do differently, and Minnewaska is very difficult. It closes early and you can't get out there for sunrise. I would really like to come back here in better light. This is midday, almost midday, harsh sun, and you can see by the shadow here. So the light is really not conducive to landscape photography. But I think I did the best that I could here. So I would change the light, and I think I would find a little bit different area of a foreground. I like this gap in the rock here, right? That was intentional. I like this boulder here, which is also intentional. But I did notice how dull and, you know, arid and almost desert-like this area looks. So I don't love that section. So I'd like to redo it there. And maybe, just maybe, more of this exposed ridgeline on the right-hand side. You know, shift everything to the right a bit. Keep this rock, keep this in the distance, but have more of this ridgeline. But you know, for the time of day, I'm definitely happy with the shot. So this one was my return hike to Naga Falls. This is my sister in the shot. So I really like this photo better than the other one. But it too is flawed. So what did I do right this time? One, I filled the frame, right? So what my complaints with the last picture was there were some, you know, messy areas to the left and right that didn't really add much to the photo. So I remembered that and definitely zoomed in. I must say, I think I nailed the exposure on the falls. You can see there's not really any area of blown highlight. Perhaps right here is a little bit bright, but nothing that I'm worried about. I love all these different platforms of water streaming down the falls. That is great. What I would do differently, I would tie my sister down. There's some motion blur here. So she is not tack sharp, and that could have been my camera, but it's also not easy to stand there on a cold day with mist blowing in your face. So I think on a less cold day, someone could have been a bit more still standing there. But she did a great job, so I'm definitely not complaining about her. On the other thing I would say, I cut off these rocks. So I wanted these in the foreground. I think they add an area of interest, but I want to see what's right here. You know, what's underneath this rock? What's underneath this rock? Is it more water? If it was more water, I would have included the water next time. But if it was something that was not, I don't remember what was there. So I would like to go back and really see if there's any area of interest. Other than that, yeah, really satisfied with the shot. It looks good. And this last one was from my last video, Old Mine Winter. I really like this shot, but the more I look at it, the more I see some flaws. So let's get to it. What I do like, obviously the basic composition, I really like. You've got this very interesting ridge to the left and to the right that's reflected in the water. You've got these two rock formations here reflected in the water. You've got the tree trunk curving into the body of water, the Delaware River. You've got the highlighted branches with snow on the ground. All that I'm so happy with. I truly am happy with. But, and I can't believe, I mean, I did it intentionally at the time, but I cannot believe I did this. I have this soft spot for branches in the top of my frame. I don't know why, but I like that, and it can work. But this didn't work. I need the branches either gone or filling up more of the frame. You know, almost like the top 15% should be filled with branches. Now it just looked messy. So I would do that differently again. And also, these clouds, you know, they were blown out in the raw, and I tried to bring back some of the highlights, and for the most part it worked. But this, you know, I don't think it's fringing above the ridge line, but it looks like fringing. So that's one thing I would do differently. You know, is there a way to highlight these clouds a little bit better? Overall, don't get me wrong, I'm pleased with this photo, but I know it could be a little bit better, and that frustrates the heck out of me. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's installment. I will get out in the woods and hiking in the future. I did receive a gimbal for my GoPro from Santa Claus, so I look forward to seeing some footage on the trail with that stabilized gimbal as well. So that's something to look forward to. And Santa also brought me a pair of snowshoes. So whenever it snows out here in New Jersey, you know, I can go out in the wintertime and capture some video and photos as well. Thanks for watching. Get out and explore, and I'll see you next time. Oh, I also wanted to close by showing you my professional photo taking vlogging setup. What you have before you is a grade A tripod that consists of a stainless steel coffee travel mug on top of it looks like a 4-quart pitcher designed for iced tea and perhaps lemonade, precariously balanced on top of a broken plastic spoon. Now, the spoon is arguably the most important piece of the setup. It adds about 3 degrees of levelness to that stand itself. Without it, the tripod is off kilter by about 3 degrees. So, yeah, that's what professionals do, and that's what I strive for.